Frank, we got a lot of ground to cover. First of all, if you grade out what happened in the era that had Kyrie and that had Kevin Durant, and of course you throw in James Harden, if you grade it, I think it's an incomplete, right?
Well, 100%. I mean, for me, it's a failure because when you have players like that, you're looking to win a championship. And I think, once again, if you go back to 2 seasons ago, how many times have we talked about, I felt the Nets were the best team in the league that year. They end up losing to Milwaukee in a Game 7. That's when James Harden had gotten hurt in the series. Obviously, Kyrie hurt his ankle. Because the way that playoff started that year, the Nets played Boston. They beat them in 5 games. They won the first 2 games in Milwaukee. So against Boston and Milwaukee, they started out by winning 6 of 7 games. That, you talk about a pathway, they were on a pathway to getting to a championship and potentially winning. Injuries derailed that. When Sean Marks talks about things you can't control, that's one of them, clearly. You know, it constantly felt like they were trying to cycle in a player, and then the narrative was, we got to get these guys on the same page playing together, and that was just like a dog chasing its own tail all the time. Exactly. And when I think when those 3 guys did play together, it was terrific, but they just weren't together enough. And I think if you go back to last season with the vaccination mandate in New York, so Kyrie was going to be out of home games for a long time. I thought the Nets made a mistake. I would have let him play in the road games to begin with. That's all now water under the bridge, but clearly part of the disconnect between Kyrie and the Net organization. And as for Kevin Durant, when he played, the guy is brilliant. There's no other way around it. He is a great player. The problem was he kind of came into Brooklyn limping, remember, with the Achilles, and he leaves limping because he hurt his knee. And you look at his time here, the only issue you have with Kevin Durant were the injuries. The guy is a great player. When he was out there, he made everybody better, and he made you a championship contending team when you have a guy like that on your roster. So all the reports were that KD would probably be back right after the All-Star game. It makes you wonder, how healthy would he be the rest of the way? It also made you wonder, they could have taken a shot at playing the rest of the season with him. What went into the thought process there, do you think? That's an interesting one, because I think Kevin Durant is a smart basketball player. He knows the league really well. He watches games all the time. He had to know when they made that trade, all right, so Kyrie's out. That's a proven scorer, obviously. But the guys that you're getting back, and Spencer Dinwiddie, who could score, but you're also getting back Dorian Finney-Smith. Look at the first game that Dorian Finney-Smith played. He was a plus 32. He's not going to be a plus 32 every night, but he's a good defensive player. That is a piece on a team that's going to help you. Because remember, last year, Spencer Dinwiddie and Dorian Finney-Smith both played in a conference final. They were big-time contributing players to a Dallas team that lost to the eventual champions, the Golden State Warriors. So I was a little surprised by that. I thought, because you could have ridden it out. But the way Kevin Durant handled it, was very quiet behind the scenes, went to the Nets. And I think the Nets, they got an offer, or the deal that they wanted from Phoenix, that they couldn't get over the summer. Because they got players back, nobody of the caliber of Kevin Durant, but 2 solid players. The third was Jay Crowder. They move along, and they get a lot of draft assets back. So I think they found in the Phoenix Suns, who you think about how remarkable it is for them. They get a new owner in this guy, Matt Ishbia, the real estate magnate, or the mortgage loans magnate, who played for Tom Izzo, was at the end of the bench at Michigan State, loves basketball. He's in a position where they're saying, we want all of this, make the deal happen. And he's thinking, man, this is my first basically day on the job. All right, I'll make it happen. And then when he agreed to the deal, they said, hang on a second, we want you to throw Jay Crowder into the deal. So I think the Nets got a package that they wanted, because I heard that last summer they were very close to a deal with the Toronto Raptors. But again, they were not going to get back Pascal Siakam. They were not going to get back Scotty Barnes. Toronto was going to give up assets. It was probably going to be OG Anunoby and a lot of draft picks. So I think the Nets got back solid players, obviously terrific players, and now they have enough draft picks where I think in the offseason they're in a position where they can make a move and acquire a big-time player. So all is not lost by any stretch of the imagination. I still think they're a good team now.